Great. So, oh, sorry. I think we are all set. So let's get started. So, first of all, thank you everyone for joining this call. This is our SDE technical phone screen preparation call. Just for you to know, everyone here is going to be evaluated on the same standards. We have many openings, so you are not competing among other candidates. If you pass your interview process, all of you are going to receive an offer. Also, something important to mention to you is that we cannot share this presentation, but feel free to take pictures or screenshots if there's like a specific slide that you wish to share. Digo, sorry, to save. Great. So this is a Mexico recruitment team. My name is Javiera, and my colleagues are Lisa, Laura, and Edgar. You have interacted either one of us. So we are here to help you with everything related to your interview process. Awesome. So this is Amazon process. So candidates who pass the online assessment move on to a 60-minute technical phone interview, which is the stage that you are on right now. This interview has two components. One is questions that are going to be focused on assessing your system design skills, and a coding problem that is going to evaluate your technical abilities. If you are successful on the phone interview, then we would be moving into the interview loop or on-site. Here you are going to be invited to 4 60-minute sessions with different software development team members. And here they are going to evaluate not only the technical side, like on the phone screen, but also the behavioral part using behavioral based questions that are going to dive into your experiences and how they align with Amazon's leadership principles. So something important, oh my God, I'm sorry. Something important for you to know is our candidate promise, which is the 2 and 5 promise. Amazon does not provide individual feedback, but we will always provide you with the outcome. So for your TPS, which is the stage you are on right now, it is going to be 2 business days after you have your interview, then you are going to be receiving the outcome of that interview. So this is our checklist. Everyone here should have received a couple of emails. One contains the technical phone interview study guide. You should have received some preparation materials as well. And here you can see some highlighted in yellow, which are the most important resources for you to have different examples of coding and the system design preparation. You should also have on that email some videos that are going to be important for you to practice and learn more about the process. The second email is an invite for a tech talk that happens every Friday. The time here on the slide is wrong. It's at 10 a.m. Mexico City time. This call is more of like a classroom lecture. It is led by an SDE, so I highly recommend joining at least one of our sessions. Each one is led by a different SDE, so if you want to join more than one, you are welcome to. Also, the coordination team is going to be in touch regarding scheduling your interview. This team is different from the recruitment team, so please make sure to check your spam in case you receive an email from them. And also, if you need to reschedule your interview due to any reason or make any changes, when you request this to the coordination team, make sure you CC your recruiter so we are all aligned in the changes that are going to be happening. So this is the interview format. You are going to have the technical phone screen lasts 60 minutes. So you are going to have around 5 minutes, ideally a bit less, for your introduction. Then your system design question that is going to last 15 minutes. Then you will have your coding question, which is going to last around 30 to 35 minutes. And finally, you will have a wrap up and a Q&A. Just keep in mind that this may not be necessarily the order that the questions are going to happen. You may have the coding question first and then the system design question. So the interview is going to be here on Chime as well, and it is going to be 100% in English. And we strongly encourage for you to turn on your camera and use your video during the interview, as this creates a more engaging conversation, and it helps to build a better connection with your interviewer. Also, there may be a second Amazonian on your call. This person is only there to learn about the interview process, and they are not going to be involved in the hiring decision, just in case you see someone else there. Great. So in regards to the introduction, we suggest for you to take around 2 to 3 minutes for the introduction, and for you to cover some of the specific areas that we are seeing here on the slide, so you can have like a structured introduction. So you can briefly talk about your professional journey, the current role that you are at, the company that you are working for, how many years of experience you have, etc. Try to also highlight your technical expertise. Make sure to mention like 2 to 3 programming languages you are the strongest in, and highlight any other object-oriented programming language that you have experience with. You can also talk about notable achievements, like, for example, a specific architecture project or a significant coding project. Amazon is very data-driven, so here we suggest that you add some data points to your introduction. Here we have an example, for example, reduce latency by 40%. So you can take this as an example for something you want to prepare for your introduction. Try to focus on things that you are currently working on. Try not to mention something that happened more than 2 or 3 years ago. And remember to keep it concise, to keep it relevant, to make like some specific points that you want to mention, so that you have like all of the information that you want to provide to your interviewer. And this is also a good time to share your enthusiasm for the role, for interviewing at Amazon, and for being like at this specific stage of the process. Great. Does anyone have any questions in regard to the introduction? Okay.
No,
Let's
at the
move on.
moment.
Okay, thank you, Alberto. Let's move on into the system design question then. So for the system design part, you are going to be presented with a hypothetical system scenario. And the focus on this interview is going to be on verbal communication. So you are not going to be using any visual diagrams or whiteboards, because the focus is in how you articulate your thought process. So communication is going to be key, not only for this interview, but also for the coding portion of your interview. Okay, so the clarification phase is very, very important. This also applies for both the coding portion and the system design portion of your interview. You want to avoid jumping right into the solution once you get your system design scenario. So it is important for you to start asking some relevant clarifying questions for you to have more information about what is expected from you. It is important for you to validate the requirements and don't make assumptions. If you happen to make an assumption, then communicate that to your interviewer so they can tell you if your assumption is right or wrong, and they can guide you through the steps that you require to make a good recommendation. Some important questions that you can ask on the clarifying phase of the of this interview are, for example, what current performance metrics do we have? What are the current pain points? What monitoring systems are in place, etc., etc. It is important for you to be mindful of time because, again, you are going to have around 15 to 20 minutes for this part. And while it's important for you to understand the requirements, it is more important for you to have enough time to do your recommendation. So keep in mind to ask relevant clarifying questions. Also, here we have on the screen some topics of discussion. You can talk about horizontal versus vertical scalability, performance metrics, monitoring, framework, data management, cloud technologies, etc. Try to always use technologies that you feel the most familiar and comfortable with. There is no right or wrong on this part because, again, we are evaluating your thought process. So that's why it's important for you to use a technology that you feel the best at. For example, if you are very familiar with AWS, then you can use it, but we are not limited only to AWS. You can also use Google, you can use Azure, etc. You are going to have to present a short-term and a long-term solution. So be prepared to think about immediate scalability fixes, consider long-term architectural changes, and also analyze trade-offs between quick fixes and comprehensive solutions. Consider as well the technical aspects for increased demand, like, for example, how you are going to handle growth, what are the strategies going to be for load balancing, caching, or database scaling. A tip that I can give you here is for you to have a piece of paper or a notebook so you can you can take some notes there and avoid getting lost or stuck in the process. And it is always helpful to think about your interviewer like as a peer or a colleague while you are discussing your solution. And if you get stuck, please make sure to mention this to your interviewer. They are there to help you. So they are going to provide you with some clues or hints. What they are basically going to be evaluating here is that you understand basic system designs. Okay. So, any questions in regards to the system design portion of the interview? Okay, great. Um, awesome. So let's move on into the coding question. So here you are going to be presented with a coding problem on the Live Code platform. So Live Code is a very simple platform, is text-based, so it's similar to a whiteboard or a notepad, but your interviewer is going to be able to see your inputs in real time and vice versa. So since it is a very simple platform, you are not going to be able to compile or run your code, but you should avoid using pseudocode, okay? The problem is intended to be solvable in 30 to 35 minutes, so consider this when thinking of your strategy. Um, Also, consider that the problem is going to be very vague and very ambiguous. So, again, make sure you ask clarifying questions. Sorry. Um, so you understand the requirements, okay? Here on this portion of the interview, we are going to be evaluating three main things, which are your problem solving skills, how logical and maintainable your code is. Oh, can you guys see my screen still?
Yes, it's visible.
Okay, good. Thank you. I thought something happened. Great. So here we are going to be evaluating your problem solving skills. How logical and maintainable your code is, and your knowledge on data structures and algorithms. We are going to go through each of those. Give me just 1 second. Okay. Yeah, we are going to go through each of those with a special approach to data structures and algorithms, because that is where usually candidates tend to struggle the most. So for problem solving, as I was mentioning to you, the problem is going to be very vague. So make sure you ask relevant clarifying questions to identify edge cases, input limitations, time and space complexity you should aim for. Please avoid at all costs jumping right into coding, because this is going to take away points from you and this could make you fail the interview. Um, the interviewer is going to be expecting from you to ask these clarifying questions, and there is actually no way that you could do a good code without asking those questions. So use this opportunity to show your knowledge and your problem solving skills. Ideally, what we want to see here is that you solve the problem using an optimized solution, but don't worry if you first think of a brute force or a suboptimal approach, as long as you reach an optimized solution by the end. Um, your interviewer is going to be providing you hints and recommendations during the interview because they want to help you succeed. So be receptive to these hints and use them to have a successful interview. Also, something that the interviewer is going to evaluate is how coachable you are. So, for example, if you are struggling on a portion of your code and the interviewer provides you with a hint and you are able to implement that, that is a good thing, and that is going to be evaluated as good by the interviewer. Um, so try to always think about how you can optimize your code and mention this to your interviewer. And if you can identify different solutions, just point out the trade-offs and be prepared to show and to explain to your interviewer why one solution is better than the other. So always, again, keep in mind to be very communicative, think out loud when solving this part, because that can actually help the interviewer see if you are going through the right path or not, and give you some hints to help you out. So for logical and maintainable code, what we are going to evaluate here is that you create simple code, that it leverages reuse, that is easy to read, that is quickly able to trace impact of changes, that it has clear variable naming conventions, and for example, if another engineer happened to see your code, they can easily read it and understand it. Also, it is important for your code to be syntactically correct, so try not to rush on this part and focus on the quality. My suggestion here is for you to start simple and go line by line. So you don't want to start with like a very complex solution and get lost in the process. Try to keep it simple. Um, Avoid monolithic functions and improper coding constructs, and try to use simple function signatures. Also, it is important for you to proactively look for errors without your interviewer requiring to point them out. And even though you are not going to be able to run or compile your code, make sure that it is easy to test and easy to debug. Okay, so the interviewer, what they want to see here is how close your code is to production. Okay, finally, for data structures and algorithms, so as I was telling you, this is the part where most candidates tend to struggle. Um, because we know that most of these concepts you learn them at university, and right now they are not on top of your mind. Obviously, everyone here is at a different level on their career, so there may be someone that is still using them a lot. That could be also an option. But either way, we suggest for you to prepare very, very good for this part of the interview. We shared with you a document that is called Review of Data Structures. So we suggest for you to practice and study the time and space complexity for different data structures like trees, hash maps, lists, arrays, etc. And you will also find some algorithms there that you can study. So this is what we suggest for you to really, really prepare for this part. Here it is going to be needed for you to identify the optimal data structure and algorithm to use. Um, you are going to need to explain why you are using that data structure and the advantages and disadvantages of that specific data structure. Um, Remember and consider that sometimes combining two data structures can lead into a more optimal solution. So consider this as well. And be prepared to discuss the trade-offs of choosing the most optimal approach. Again, think out loud, be very communicative. Engage with your interviewer, and make sure that you justify your choice by the end, and that you demonstrate a solid understanding of runtime and space complexity trade-offs. Good. So here we have some best practices for the coding interview. Our engineers here at Amazon suggest that you use LeetCode to practice. We shared with you a document that is called Top 75 LeetCode Questions to Save You Time. So our suggestion is for you to use those resources to prepare for your coding interview. Try to focus on medium to hard difficulty problems, and ideally, you should aim to solve 2 to 3 problems daily before your interview. Remember to use the language of choice. Just consider that it has to be an object-oriented language, but besides that, our recommendation is for you to do it on the one that you feel the most familiar and comfortable with. Um, and as I mentioned to you, the goal for the coding part is for you to come up with an optimal solution. However, if you are not able to come to this optimal solution by the end because you run out of time or something like that, just mention to your interviewer how or what you would have done if you happened to have a bit more time. Like if you had, I don't know, like 5 or 10 more minutes, just mention to your interviewer how would you have resolved the problem, because this can give you like some extra points in case you run out of time. And finally, for the Q&A part, we suggest here by the end that you ask questions that are going to give you value. So avoid asking questions related to benefits, to pay, to remote work, etc., because these questions can be answered by the recruitment team. So try to focus on questions that are going to be related to the role, technical questions, work environment questions. So here on the slide, you can see some examples of the team culture, career growth, mentorship, etc. You can use these as examples for your interview. Okay. So in regards to the information, that is all. I don't know if you have any questions, any doubts. Okay. If no one has questions, then that would be all in regards to the prep call. Oh, I see a hand. Give me just 1 second. Yeah, Eduardo. Sorry, can you repeat your question? I think the mic sounded a bit weird, so I didn't quite understand. Yeah, no problem. Or you can type it if you feel if you want. Yeah. Eduardo is asking if all of the topics that I explained are going to come up on the technical interview. Yes. As I mentioned, you are going to have two parts for that interview. One is going to be system design. The other portion is going to be focused on coding. And for the coding portion, as you can see here on the slide, if you want to take a screenshot, they are going to be evaluating your problem-solving skills, how logical and maintainable your code is, and your knowledge of data structures and algorithms. Those are going to be all the topics that will be covered on this interview. No, no worries. I don't know why it sounded weird, but it's okay. Alberto, do you have a question?
Yep. Just to clarify, during the system design part,
Uh-huh.
we'll be able to show or draw the schema or the diagram.
No.
No,
For the technical, yeah, tell me, finish.
it's just something explaining in a verbal way.
Yeah, exactly. For the technical phone interview, you are not going to be using a whiteboard. So everything is going to be focused on verbal communication. And yeah, it is going to be only a discussion with the interviewer. If you feel that you need to have like somewhere to write down your ideas, you can have like a piece of paper with you and you can write it down. But yeah, it is not necessary to draw any diagrams at this point. If you move into the final loop, on that final interview, then you are going to be using a whiteboard, but at this point, you are not going to be using that yet.
Okay.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
yep. Thank you. And just uh, to finish,
Mhm.
in case that if we passed, how much time does it take to know that we were accepted or rejected in this phase, obviously?
Yeah. So for the technical phone screen is going to be 2 days. So 2 business days after you have your interview, you should be receiving the outcome, whether you're moving on to the next stage or not. And for the final round, for the on-site or interview loop, it is going to be 5 business days.
Great. So that's all my questions. Thank
Okay,
you,
awesome.
Javier.
Yeah, no, for sure. You're welcome. Thank you for asking. Eduardo, do you have any more questions? Okay, great. Awesome. So, just some final tips. For your interview, try to arrive 3 to 5 minutes earlier to your interview. So, to make sure that your live code link is working and you get familiarized. And as a reminder, we do not provide feedback, but we will be providing you with the outcome within 2 days of your interview happening. Also, we obviously want to see you succeed on this stage of the interview and move on into the final stage. But in case you didn't have a successful interview at this point, I just wanted to mention to you that we have a cool-off period of 6 months to 1 year to 2 years. Usually for this stage of the process is 6 months to a year. So yeah, after that time, you can apply again to a position with Amazon and start over with your process. So yeah, thank you very much for your time. If you have any other questions, just reach out to your recruiter and they will help you out. But yeah, good luck on your interview and talk to you all soon.
For sure. Thank you, Javier. Thank you all.
Thank you. Bye bye. Have a good afternoon.
Have a nice
You're
day.
welcome. Thank you. Bye bye.